Chapter 1. Suicide. An ideation change that stems from hopelessness and despair. I could see no light at the end of the tunnel. It was now all darkness. Without Grace, I felt I had nothing to live for. She was all I had left in this world, and now she was gone as well. Why does everything I love and hope for go away? While I had had thoughts of suicide and ending what felt like torment, I had never gotten this upset, this hurt, or come this close before. You can't get any closer. I had the method picked. I had the location picked. I had the note in my pocket. I was on the ledge, 8 stories up, the cold night wind whistling past me. It was a long way down. Once I stepped off the building, I would plummet to the hard concrete below, bones and skull shattering upon impact, to lie in a crumbled heap, the torment finally over. But there would still be the 2 or 3 seconds of terror as I fell through the air before impact. What if once I stepped off and began falling, I changed my mind and decided this was a mistake? There would be no going back. Just a plummet, the terror, the impact. The unfortunate thing is, it wasn't until this point in time that reality finally hit me. I need help. Bad. I had allowed this illness to destroy everything in my life. My music career that had actually had promised, my relationship with my family, numerous jobs, an internship at a recording studio in Manhattan, my relationship with Grace. And now it was threatening to take away my life completely. Was I a coward, afraid to jump, or had I found one last ounce of inner strength to overcome the darkness and despair that had taken me? Perhaps the Lord took control for a second because He had different plans for me. Either way, I climbed down from the concrete ledge so high up, walked out of the building, and took myself to a hospital. Little did I know that things were about to get worse. St. Joseph's Hospital. 11:30 p.m. Perhaps I had come here with unrealistic expectations. I had expected counseling, some sort of therapy, the start of some kind of mental health program to get me on the road to recovery. In Cool Hand Luke, I believe it was abusive cops who told Paul Newman, "You gotta get your mind right." That's what I was attempting to do. Get my mind right again. My mistake. I parked the car in front of the hospital entrance, not sure if that's a good spot, but at that point in my life, that was the least of my worries. I tried to compose myself and enter the emergency room, walking eyes down to the admittance desk. I can't even remember the women behind the desk or who was in the emergency room, it's all a blur, but I know what I said. I suffer from severe depression and I'm thinking about killing myself, I say, my voice choking in my throat. I'm here for one last chance at help, so if you can help me, do it. Looking back at that now, I realize just how strong a statement that was. But it was how I felt. In a daze, I fill out some forms, not able to look the girl behind the desk in the eyes when speaking to her. I'm taken to a small room with a desk, 2 chairs, and a gurney-type bed. I'm told a doctor will see me soon. A guard paces outside the open door. I sit and stare at the floor for what seems like an eternity. The guard begins talking to his friend about sports and girls, and they curse and laugh. On the TV out in the emergency room, I can hear some people watching a show about, ironically enough, suicide. I shake my head in disbelief. Sam Kinison once said, "It never ends." He was right. Johnny Mandel wrote the theme song for MASH. The name of the song is, "Suicide is Painless." He was wrong. It hurts. Even when not fully committed. After about 20 minutes, a nurse comes in and takes my blood pressure and temperature, then leaves. Another 20 minutes until a medical doctor comes in and asks me a bunch of questions. He tells me that a psychiatrist will be down to talk to me shortly, and leaves the room. My thoughts are racing at this point. Finally, the psychiatrist shows up. He seems like a nice enough guy, though I was to never see him again. He asks me a lot of questions, and takes a lot of notes. It was very hard to tell my story without bursting into tears, and I had to keep telling it repeatedly to many different people. I'm not usually much of a crier. I've always been the black motorcycle jacket, metal chains, spiked gloves, mad at the world, heavy metal rebel with the bad temper. But at that point in time, all my armor was stripped away. I was merely a man who had sunk into the lowest depths of despair and hopelessness. And when you reach that point, any man can cry. Yet still I fought it. The psychiatrist tells me that all the rooms in the psychiatric units in Westchester County are full tonight. The weekend is apparently a bad time to have a crisis. Everybody else has the same idea. What he'd like to do, he says, is talk to the staff about letting me stay here in this room tonight, and see how I feel in the morning. That didn't sound too appealing. And he hadn't really talked to me. Only asked some questions. Hesitantly, I agree. What else could I do? He leaves the room. About 10 minutes later, another nurse enters the room with a hospital gown. "Remove your shirt and put this on," she says. "We're taking you upstairs." Now I'm confused. "But that's not what the doctor just told me," I said. The guard puts on a pair of rubber gloves and begins going through my jacket. "Hey, why do I feel like I'm being arrested?" I asked, not understanding what was happening. "You're not being arrested, Mr. Irwin," the matronly Spanish nurse answers. "You're being taken to a room on the 6th floor, in the surgical unit." I still don't get it. A suicide watch. I had no idea that's what this was all about. I'm taken to the 6th floor. It's a nice private room with one bed. The guard pulls his chair in front of the open door and sits down, sighing. I sit on the bed and the nurse brings me a small container of cranberry juice. In a patient's room across the hall, I can hear the TV. An elderly woman is watching a late-night talk show. The topic is, women who have left their man. Of course it is. It never ends. The nurse brings me food, but I don't feel like eating. I feel like dying, remember? I'm tired, but I know I won't be able to sleep. The room is right across from the nurse's station, and they're talking very loudly. I don't know why they have quiet signs outside hospitals, because hospitals are very noisy places. I laid down and tried to sleep, but can't. The guard is a young white male in his early 20s, and he keeps sighing as if he really doesn't want to be here. Now I feel like I'm a burden even to this guy. He seems to know all the orderlies and nurses, and every damn one of them would have to stop and ask him what he was doing here. Suicide, he'd say low to them. But I heard every word as I lay there. One of them even asked, "What are you doing, babysitting?" That made me feel real good. I had come here to feel better, and I was feeling worse. Morning. The changing of the guard. My keeper is now a 6'5" black guy named Jimmy. He tries to talk to me and get me to eat, but I'm in no mood for either. Where the hell are all the doctors? I've done nothing but lay here all night thinking about my problems. Alone. No magazine, no TV, no book, nothing to do but think about the dark events that brought me here in the first place. I had mistakenly thought I would see a therapist who would help me. I corner a nurse who enters the room and ask her about it. She tells me we're on the 6th floor, the surgical unit. The psychiatrists are downstairs on the 2nd floor. I'm confused again. So what? I say. Can't one of them come up here? She says they're very busy, but she'll see what she can do. My feeling was that if I was a priority enough to have constant guards over me, why wasn't I a priority enough to have a doctor actually come up and talk to me? Try to calm me down, make me feel better. I'm sick too. Sick enough that I wanted to die. Why won't anyone help me? I tried to lay down again. The guard is eating his breakfast. Though he's sitting there alone, he's very vocal about it. He keeps going. No doctor in sight. Walking into my bed and making noise like I'm not even there. Prisoner. I had no idea I couldn't leave. Not even if I wanted to. It's now afternoon. I had been in the hospital 15 or 16 hours, and still hadn't talked to anyone about what was bothering me. Why had I come here, anyway? All I had done was sit and simmer. And stew. I was about to explode. The final straw came when an orderly walked by and asked the same question as the night before. What are you doing? Babysitting, that was it. I had had enough. I got up from the bed and tore off the hospital gown and bracelet. I'm outta here, I said, pulling on my shirt. Tell the nurse I'm leaving. Hey, you can't leave, the guard said, standing. Watch me, I snapped, pulling on my leather jacket. I signed myself in, I can sign myself out. The big black guard named Jimmy's 6'5" frame blocked the doorway. Get out of my way, I said, angrily. You can't leave, he told me, not moving. Get the fuck out of my way, I snarled, moving forward. He pushed me back into the room. Hey, fuck you, I said, shoving him back. He went to push me again, and I knocked his hand away. Don't fucking touch me, I threatened. A thought flashed through my mind. Earlier I had heard him talking to a nurse about how he used to be a boxer. Grew up with George Foreman. Used to spar with him. Of course. It never ends. He was either a liar or a braggart. Did I want to find out? He's 6'5". I'm 5'8". An angry look crossed his face, one I matched with a glare of my own. So what are you going to do? Fuck me up. I came here for help, and this is it, I said, loudly. The nurses at the station were calling downstairs for security. 2 more guards were on their way up. You just behave, or we'll strap you down. That's when I knew. I wasn't getting out of here so fast. Lock up. I hadn't a clue that that's what would happen to me when I showed up at St. Joseph's Hospital. It wouldn't have been so bad had I received some sort of counseling or treatment. But they held me prisoner and ignored me. No phone. No books or magazines offered. Just me alone with my thoughts. Didn't seem like good mental health policies to me, but then I'm not a doctor, I only played one on the show. Luckily, my scuffle with the guard got the attention of a real doctor. All of a sudden, he found time to pay me a visit. See, I knew they could come upstairs if they wanted to. Just needed a little motivation, which I provided. An elderly, white-haired doctor enters the room. I forget his name immediately. He tells me they have to hold me for 72 hours. I realize that it's obviously not because they're concerned about me, but because if something happens to me within 72 hours, they'd be liable. He talks to me for about 3 or 4 minutes. I'm left alone again. Night. I'm still angry about the second, babysitting, remark. I tell the new guard, a young Hispanic kid, that if I hear one more of those I'm flying out into that hall, and he's going to be the one to have to stop me. At least he wouldn't be bored tonight. He'd be on the edge of his seat waiting for me to burst. Good. Keep him on his toes. Feeling a little like my old self again, no thanks to anyone here, or their special lock me in a room plan, I begin talking to the next guard many hours later, a young white kid named Richie. He's friends with the first guard who was there when I arrived. They have a band of sorts, so we talk about music for a while. Take note that my story here is all about guards, and not doctors or nurses at all so far. Guards, guards, and more guards. No doctors. Not a problem. I was only knocking on death's door before I came here, nothing important. I get some towels from the nurse and take a shower, after convincing her that I wouldn't stand under the shower head with my mouth open and try to drown. I'm starting to be able to look people in the eye when speaking. I smoke a cigarette in the bathroom, Richie outside the door. I sleep a bit. Tuesday morning. I've been here since 11:30 Sunday night. The nurse, a middle-aged black woman, enters the room bringing me more food I don't eat. I haven't eaten in 3 days. She sets the tray down on the table next to the bed. What the hell is going on here? I ask, standing. I came here for help. I've been here since Sunday night, and I haven't seen anyone. Now I'm pacing like a caged animal. Don't even start that with me, Mr. Irwin, she says angrily. I've been coming in here, bringing you juice and milk. And I appreciate that, I told her. I'm not trying to be a pain in the ass, but I didn't come here for juice and milk. I thought I'd receive some sort of therapy or counseling, and all you've done is lock me in this room to sit and think about everything. That's not true. The doctor spoke with you yesterday. Yeah, for about 4 minutes. Oh, so now it's 4 minutes. Last time you said it was 3 minutes, she replies, annoyed. I was obviously getting nowhere talking to this woman. I would do my 72 hours, and then get the hell out. Or so I thought.